So working our way a little bit further up, we're hitting the home stretch now. We have the building that maybe people have been thinking, why haven't we gotten there? It's at 339 Convent Avenue, and that is on a 144th Street and Convent Avenue, and that is the Royal Tenenbaums' home that was purchased in Royal Tenenbaums' 35th year, the winter of his 35th year.
Right.
Yeah, which I was like, damn, that guy's ahead of me. I need to, I need to buy a home now. But
and not just
specifically
any
that
home.
one.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
And I don't know. I have you been to that home at some point during the time that you've lived here?
It's insane that I haven't,
Re-
given how much I love this movie.
Yeah.
And it's a very visible landmark.
Yeah.
I should do it.
Yeah, I've passed by it maybe once or twice. I don't know if I've ever gone explicitly with that reason,
Yeah.
but I have passed by it before once or twice, and this time we gave it a formal examination.
Yes.
It is a beautiful home. It is right near the is it City College? Yeah,
Yeah.
the City College in New York, which is also when we first did, I think we did like kind of a trial walk before we started the whole project. And that was really the first time that I had walked through that campus, even though I had been by this home. And it feels like an actual college campus in the middle of the city, which we went to a school that is a college campus, and you wouldn't think that that exists necessarily in New York, but
No.
it
And
does.
I went to school in New York, and I did not have a campus at all.
Yeah.
I had
Yeah.
a couple buildings that I went to.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's cool to
Is-
see this full campus. It's beautiful. It's like basically a big park with beautiful old architecture that students get to go to and learn.
Yeah.
Is Hamilton's The Grange right there?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Very good.
So that means that I've been there and missed out on the Royal Tenenbaums house. I was so
Oh.
close.
Yeah, I mean, you're literally one avenue away from
Oh,
there.
man.
Yeah. But it is a gorgeous home. It's unclear if one family lives there. I would kind of, honestly, I'd be skeptical. But I don't know for certain one
It
way
was
or the
hard
other.
to tell. It looked like there were two entrances. The one entrance had no apartment doorbells, so I imagine that's just an entrance for one family. And then the other one, it had an intercom, but I didn't see multiple buzzers.
I mean, maybe it is.
So it's still unclear because sometimes that's on the inside of like the exterior door too. So
Yeah. But I believe they acquired that home for the filming because it was undergoing renovations at the time. I could be
Oh.
wrong, but I feel like I read that somewhere. So it may be that once the renovations were over, it became multifamily. Or maybe it's just somebody decided that they wanted it for the home. I mean, it's a beautiful space right in the
Yeah.
corner. And it's, as well, Jesse mentioned when Eli Cash is driving down, high on mescaline, it's a one-way street, so it's not a lot
he
of
was driving
traffic.
the wrong way.
Yeah, not a lot of traffic that's happening.
Yeah.
And from all kind of the degree that which we can explore, it looks like they filmed at least some of the wedding scene out there as well. There's a little patio on the side, and so it was slate on the ground, which that was there. And then there is a wooden gate, and I don't believe it was the gate that they hop over when they go into the Japanese garden, or it's like that's the consulate house, whatever it is that's next door. I don't believe that exists next door. I think they jumped somewhere, but it also may just be a separate part of the same grounds.
Yeah.
It's not entirely clear.
Yeah, it was hard to tell.
Yeah, I don't get the sense that they did too much like completely different location matching, like where they would cut and then go to a totally different place. I don't think
Right.
they did that much in the film, which leads me to believe they'd probably try and avoid that if at all possible. The home itself, I don't know if any of those interior things were done there. I didn't.
I believe they were, if I remember from watching the DVD extra features
Nice.
Oh,
years ago.
nice.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. I think it falls in line with the idea that they had the house, so they would use it to their max advantage. And also, it would be, I mean, it seems like he likes to keep things as authentic as possible. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's
And
yeah.
just the number of shots of like them like looking wistfully out the window of
Right.
like panning up,
Yeah.
where like they would have to be in there,
Yeah.
whether or not the sets were.
Absolutely. Yeah.
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 Yeah, and it's huge. I mean, the building itself is actually that big. So, and it looks like we couldn't go in, we couldn't see in, and none of the windows were open, but there were a couple that had like just the screen, and it seemed like the inside could match.
Yeah.
I felt like from the outside.
Yeah. I don't know.
One thing.
Yeah, go on.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
No, go on.
I will say about that Eli scene. One thing I do want to point out, in case this podcast inspires listeners to rewatch the film.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I noticed he hits a mailbox and then hits the building. I only noticed him in one shot, but a mailman runs over to pick up the letters, and it made me laugh out loud.
Really?
I think
Yep.
I noticed a guy. I didn't notice him running. I did notice at some point that guy
He may
was
not
picking
have
up
been,
letters.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so funny.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Also in that, I guess it was a dolly scene like after everything. Also, there's no consequences for Eli Cash. Let's put that out there.
I
a good point.
You know, he was literally 48 hours later when they're in judges' chambers getting married. He's somehow a best man or something. Like nobody seems to care that he killed a dog, and you know.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. Was also just driving recklessly
Yeah.
on drugs.
Yeah.
Yep.
Another thing that I noticed about that the wedding scene, which was interesting, is that all of the men characters, including Dudley and Riley, are in the same suit. So like Dudley is in the wedding party, or they I think Wes Anderson was just kind of really getting his uniformity in for Life Aquatic like early, you know, like he was really working that
Right.
phase out. But it felt good, like insofar as like, okay, this is the climactic scene and all the characters in the play are getting together in this one, you know, type of outfit.
Yeah. It once you pointed it out and I started I understand what happens at a wedding and what people usually wear to a wedding, and these are like very rich people. Like it's not like they went and got a bulk deal on suits for everyone or something. Like they could all afford to get their own fancy suits.
Yeah.
So then
At Indochino.
yeah.
Use promo code Total Clarity.
We're sponsored now.
Yeah.
That's right.
But once you pointed that out, I thought that was really funny. And I don't know if I liked that choice or not.
Yeah.
Once I realized it. But I think I didn't realize it at first, so it
Yeah.
probably was fine.
Yeah. I didn't know if I was going to bring this up or not, but I did keep it in case. I don't know to what degree you're familiar with the idea that I make a mask for Halloween every year.
I am familiar with this idea.
Yeah, well, it's been 10 years, so you were there for at least some part of it. I very rarely make a mask that is based on a character. In fact, this might be the only year that this actually happened. However, one year for Halloween, I wore this shirt and wore a wig and went
And a
as
fringed jacket.
and a fringe jacket, and I went as Eli Cash from crashing into the wedding, which included. I won't put the whole thing on, but this is the mask that I was
Oh,
wearing
wow.
down with the paint. You can be afraid. It's definitely part of the aesthetic.
Yeah, that is like the anime version, like spooked up. I like it.
That's right. Yeah.
And you painted your face underneath.
Underneath the face was painted. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was a lot of fun to
It was
be
great.
That's really cool.
painted like that.
Yeah.
And I ran into. Boy, I'm getting myself into a story. I shouldn't do this. I was at a Halloween party and I was waiting online for the bathroom, and it was like a long, narrow hallway, and there were a bunch of people just waiting there, and then the door opened, and no, I asked if anybody was going, and nobody was going, so I was like, okay, well, I guess I'll just go. And then I closed the door, and I was in the bathroom, and then some guy was like, hey, who the hell just went in there? Did somebody just cut line? I'm going to kick that guy's ass. And I was like, all of a sudden, I felt exactly like Eli Cash. like, where's the door? With the window? How am I going to get out of here? And then I ended up having like an encounter with this person as I got out of the bathroom, where he was like looking to I don't know, kick my ass for absolutely no reason. And I was able to encounter my way out of it, and then go to the guest or like the host of the party and be like, "Who is this guy?" And they're like, "We have no idea who he is." And then they had to
Wow.
kick him out. It was
So he was the Eli Cash.
kind of,
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was just funny being in this situation where it's like I'm completely face painted and I have a fringe jacket on, and somebody wants to kick my ass. This seems about right.
Did you speak to him in your Owen Wilson voice? Because you were also speaking as Owen Wilson being Eli Cash that entire night.
I don't know if I spoke like that.
Everybody knows that I was just trying to go to the bathroom, but what you're presupposing is that I was doing.
Maybe I didn't. Yeah, no. I don't know if I could do that. The only thing the reason I did that costume that year is because I was walking on the street one day and I saw a dog being walked by a man, and I thought if I were Owen Wilson and I stole the dog and then I had to explain it to somebody, I'd go, "I stole a dog." And that's about as far as I can get. But
That's really good.
thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that is the Halloween that I went as Eli
Love
Cash. Last location, just 7 streets up, or 0.7 miles up, but referred to as I haven't gone out there in a long time. Never, doesn't have a title. As far as I know, it doesn't have a location name. And that's the cemetery where Royal's mother is buried, where Chaz's wife is buried. And I think...
And where they bury Royal.
And where they, yes.
At the end, I
Major
think.
spoiler, jeez.
Well, we already spoiled it.
I said it earlier.
No, but you tried to keep it cool. I mean, look, if you're watching this, I don't know why you decided to watch us 3 idiots
weirdo.
do the locations review first.
Yeah, that's the part of the podcast where we make fun of you.
Yeah, that's right.
Stupid. Why'd you do that?
But yeah, so we went to it's actually the graveyard for Trinity Church, all the way downtown.
Oh.
Yeah. And so we went... Cemetery.
Sorry.
I guess, well...
Graveyard, specifically, one of our friends, Knox, who has worked on some Wes Anderson films, bringing it all together, pointed out in one of our first episodes that we were saying graveyard for a cemetery. And a graveyard is only if the graves are in the yard of the church. And the cemetery is when the graves that belong to that church are somewhere else. So anyway, because Trinity Church is downtown,
right.
This is their cemetery, even though there is another church right next to the cemetery, but it is not their graves, so it is not their yard.
Correct. I was going to make a point, but it's just going to get even more jumbled. You did a fantastic job. You are 100% correct.
Thank you.
So, yes, Trinity Cemetery
Yeah.
is up there on 153rd Street.
And I think,
Yeah.
I think because Trinity Church is this really well-known church down on Wall Street, and I think they moved all of their graves uptown, I want to say during the cholera outbreak, which was also when Queens and Brooklyn started building cemeteries.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it was that, which again just ties to where we are in our
Right.
outbreaks of viruses.
Yeah. It made me wonder because they keep saying I haven't been out there in years. And the way that they shoot it, it does make it look like it is not in the city. It's up on a hill, and you can kind of get the Palisades and the view out there, which is not Queens and Brooklyn. But I wondered how much of like the actual idea of what New York cemeteries is, which is to say, out in the near
Right.
Queens and Brooklyn, far Brooklyn areas. I wonder how much they were trying to reference that. Or if they just wanted to make it seem like it's not a part of the city. I wasn't sure.
It does feel very Greenwood. I initially thought that until you could see the water.
Good point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we went there, and it was one of the other locations that was inaccessible to us, which was very strange because we've been walking around now for 38 weeks, and all of the cemeteries have been open. And in fact, they're kind of like one of the only places where it's appropriate to be walking around during a pandemic. You can keep distance pretty easily. You can enjoy outdoor space.
Yeah.
So I wonder if there's some type of politics at play because in addition to that, there is an interesting residents that live in the cemetery. Do you want to talk about it?
Sure.
Ghosts?
Well, in addition to the many, many ghosts at Trinity Cemetery, there's also...
Allegedly.
Allegedly. Yeah, keep it legal.
That's right.
There's also at least 6 to 8 cats that live in a little cat colony in the cemetery that the groundskeepers of the cemetery and the people involved in the church apparently aren't fond of. But there are people from both the neighborhood and people that are not from the neighborhood that come out and feed the cat colonies and take care of them. And we found this out because yesterday, we got there at the end of the day, the gates were closed. We thought we were just late. Turns out they're just closed. But there were a bunch of cats hanging out right near the gate. And we were like, this is funny. We're like looking at the cats and we were standing there for a while. And then this man behind us started talking to us, and he was there to feed the cats.
Yeah.
And yeah, so we learned about there's this whole world, I guess, of people that go, this guy in particular was coming from downtown to feed this cat colony. He feeds another cat colony up a little bit further. I think he said up in like near Inwood, a little bit further north. And I think he said he had a third cat colony that he takes care of, also uptown. So this whole like environment of people that travel to take care of feral cats.
Yeah.
I've never heard the term cat colony before. I really like that.
Yeah. Yeah, this guy was a character, I would say, insofar as I wouldn't expect he seemed like kind of a conservative New York Posty type guy, but had an extreme fondness for cats and making sure that they were okay. And he also had a distinct dislike for the groundskeepers because part of it was, I don't think you mentioned it, they, back in September or something, had destroyed 4 of the cats. And he thought that it was done out of spite and not out of like any actual reason. And so there was a great deal of animosity coming from him. And but it seemed like it was more, it was his hobby, it was his passion. He himself is trained in tagging and releasing them, which is to say, I guess he can neuter them.
No, the whole TNR he said he's trained in.
Yeah.
Huh.
Trap, neuter, and release.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was.
That's quite a hobby.
Yeah,
I know,
exactly.
right?
Yeah. It was interesting to be able to interact with him. I'm glad he started the conversation. It's nice when we're out walking and people initiate, and then they have like this whole crazy backstory that we would not have known otherwise.
Yeah. Well, and it's also.
Oh no, you get that chapter 1 of the Royal Tenenbaums from each of these
That's right.
people.
That's right.
Exactly. Yeah.
All of a sudden,
he did
Alec
feel
Baldwin's talking somewhere.
He did feel like someone that could have been a character in this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so we got there Thursday. We weren't able to get in. We were hopeful that we could get in. We could not get in. We did some filming from like the sides. We managed to actually capture one particular cat that he told us about while we were there that has 3 legs.
It.
And
the 3-legged calico.
Yeah.
Wow.
He kept when we were talking to him, he kept referencing it. He was saying, "Oh yes, there's the black one, there's the spotted one, there's the 3-legged calico. The 3-legged calico usually comes to eat last. I haven't seen her yet today. I'm a little worried about her. I hope she's okay. She usually comes last because she's a little timid, but this one usually comes last too. And he's here. He's here today. He's eating first." And so we heard all about this 3-legged calico, and then today, the 3-legged calico is the only one that came to visit us. And I was so impressed by the way she could jump over, there's a wall of rocks and she could traverse that as well as any mountain lion.
It was pretty impressive. You could tell where the feral instincts were kicking in there.
Yeah.
And so we kind of walked the perimeter, got some footage, and one great thing that if it hadn't been closed, we probably would not have seen. But the church that is generally within what would be considered the grounds is the Church of the Intercession. And it has this amazing cloister courtyard where it's the vaulted, roofs. And it we were like walked in there to see if we could get access to the graveyards, but we ended up staying there just for a few minutes to experience it. I mean, it was like a free trip to the cloisters, where you could go to that museum, and it was really like not much else you would see in the city.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it was really pleasant.
I would say, yeah, if you're watching this and you're actually genuinely interested in the Royal Tenenbaums locations, going to the house and going to this graveyard site, which will be reopening in the spring, by the way.
Yeah.
We did find out in a couple weeks it'll be open again to the public. That is definitely worth your while. You'll find a lot of interesting stuff out there.
Yeah.
And
And
then-
to Ramsey, too, who hasn't been up there.
That's right.
Not
Yes.
only
That's
those
right.
of you who are watching.
Yeah,
And if you're a cat watching this, there's some free food
that's right.
over
It's a
at
good
this cemetery.
place. We should let the cats know for sure.
Yeah.
A lot,
We know a guy.
when we go into our SEO, a lot of it says that it's coming from cat colonies.
That's
So-
right. That's right.
Yep. It's a meow.01 IP address.
That's exactly what it is. You must know.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, we get a lot of crossover on my podcast as well.